Good morning and welcome back to Key West Waterman. My name is Aaron Young. Today we're going to do a maintenance video. I'm going to go over the 300-hour service on my Mercury 4-stroke 225s. This will be relevant if you have 175 to 225. I'm not sure about the 250 and higher or any of the lower ones. It'll be pretty close, but I know the 175s or the 225s are all the same motor. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do the 300-hour service. I don't have a tool list because I have a tool bucket that has everything in it. I've been doing this so long. Everything's in there. I'll tell you what tools you need as we need them. This is everything I'm going to need today. I've got oil. I've got lower unit or gear case oil over there. We're going to be doing the fuel filters, the oil filters, the water pumps, spark plugs. And I just realized I'm not going to be able to do the belts today because one, I don't have the tool, and two, I forgot the belts at the house. So maybe we'll add that later or just forego that part of this. But you are supposed to do the accessory belts. I've switched to these Mercuries about 5 years ago. I absolutely love them. I've been thrilled with them. I love the maintenance. It's very easy. I love the performance, the economy, the speed, the power. I absolutely love these motors. And a cool thing about them is if you are doing the maintenance yourself, it does have this little list every 100 hours, engine oil and filter, gear case oil. And then every 300 hours it has the list as well. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing this as well as the spark plugs, the fuel filter, the drive belt. Like I said, we're gonna have to skip that one because there's a specific tool that you need that I don't have currently. I forgot it, and it's very, very difficult without the tool. Anyways, we're gonna be doing the water pump as well. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. Let's get started. Little disclaimer, to be completely honest, I am not a mechanic. I'm not certified in any way. I'm a fisherman and a diver that has always done my own maintenance. So there's a very good chance I may not know the exact verbiage or call something the wrong part, but for the most part, I know what I'm doing for the most part, but if you see me do something wrong or call something the wrong part, that is why. So we're gonna start with the gear case oil. These Mercuries, you have to remove the prop to drain the gear case oil, which I don't really mind because I like greasing the prop shaft every 100 hours when I do my maintenance. I think it's a good habit to have. Just using a standard prop wrench, you can get these online or at West Marine. When you pull all this off, just make sure if you're not familiar, you do this enough and you just know, but just keep track of where everything's going. And then you got your thrush washer here. Make sure you put that back, when it goes back on, make sure you put it on the right way. You'll see that it fits snug one way and not the other. All right, so first one we're gonna need is the 10 millimeter to open up these lower unit seals. I recommend running the motor first for a little while, just to heat everything up. Makes everything drain a little bit easier. But we're always gonna do that bottom one first. Man, that's 100 hours and that stuff, it's still nice and blue. I always do the bottom one first. The top one is what creates the vacuum. And once that bottom one's out, open that top one. We just let her drain. All right, so we drained all the oil out of the lower unit. We're gonna replace the seals on here. Have those ready, standing by. Our Gear Lube. I'm gonna connect this little threaded piece to the bottom connection. You can pick these little pumps up at West Marine or any marine hardware store for the most part. Depending on your motor, it'd be a different thread, but obviously we're doing Mercury today. I think they have automatic ones of these, like battery powered ones, but always done the job for me. And I'm gonna sit here and slowly pump until oil starts to sputter out of this top one. And I'm gonna have a bolt ready. When oil starts to sputter, replace that top bolt and it'll create the seal. We can pull the bottom out and put the bottom bolt in. Oh, there we go. See oil coming out. Give it a pump, put that bolt in. Again, just snug. And this bottom one, it'll drain a little, but it won't drain as fast because it has that upper one in. It creates a vacuum, but you do want to be ready. And go right in, just like that. And because we are doing our water pumps today, our impellers, I'm gonna leave the props off for now. Makes that lower unit just a little bit lighter and easier to deal with. Double check them. There you are. Make sure you clean all that excess oil off. Now we're gonna drain out the engine oil. You're gonna need a 16mm socket and a little bit of tubing. I can't remember. I'll try to find the size and put this up on the screen. I can't remember what size this is. It should be online somewhere. But I love this feature. It's very nice, no mess. You just loosen it, put the hose on, you'll see. So you're just gonna do maybe a quarter turn and you'll feel it break loose. Just don't turn it anything past that until you put the hose on. Just barely open it up or all the oil will come shooting out. Take that hose, get nice and snug on there, and I got some empty containers from last time. We're just gonna take that hose, continue to spin it. Counterclockwise is gonna loosen it up and you'll see all the oil come shooting out right there. Just like that. Obviously make sure that's higher than the drain or it'll come shooting out into you. And then all I do is put that hose right into these guys. Easy peasy, and let it drain. And I like to make sure I have 2 of them open because you're typically going to get just a little less than 2 containers. And when that first jug gets full, just bring it up above the drain. It's hard to see, but it'll stop the flow. Put my full jug there. Make sure you keep this up above the drain height where it'll continue to flow. And I put it back in to a new one and we resume. I am in a working marina today, so if you hear a lot of noise, that's why. Hopefully you can hear me. And once you get all the oil out, you'll see the tube clears up. A kind of puddle here. I let it sit for a couple minutes just because I know oil is going to continue to drain down through there. So I normally let it sit a couple minutes before I pull it off. Once you feel like that's nice and drained, clean that off. We're going to take this. We're just going to turn that hose clockwise until it just tightens up a little bit, and that'll stop the flow of oil. Like I said, turn it clockwise, it'll stop. The hose can only take it so far, but that's just to cinch that back up. The towel, come right here. Just pull that off, catch any excess. Take my 16mm and just snug it up a little. You don't gotta go crazy on these. And do not forget to tighten this back, because if you're running your boat and you leave it loose, eventually the rattling will loosen it up. There we are. So I'm going to do the oil filters now. I'm going to show you on the opposite motor. It's just a little easier to access so you can see it better. But I'm going to show you a little trick that I do. I leave the hose attached. I cinched up that side with the hose, twisted it to where it's closed now, and cinched it up on that side. And if you get enough hose material, there's another drain on this side for the oil filter. I open it up before I take that filter off. Connect that right there. And if you don't warm up the motor beforehand, you shouldn't have any oil in here. If you do run the motor before, you'll have oil. I actually didn't warm up the motors this morning, so there's a good chance there's not going to be any oil in there, but just in case, I like to have that hose on there. There's a little catch. This is another very thoughtful design. A little pan that goes around this, so when you open this up, if there is oil in it, it catches in that pan and it runs right out of this drain. Yeah, it feels pretty empty. Oh, there's a little bit. That tiny little bit that it had in it just actually dripped right back into the system there. It didn't go into the pan. But like I said, if you warm it up, this whole thing will be filled. It'll drain into that pan and it'll come down. So we have our new filter. The mechanic told me this, so this is why I do it. There's no other reason. Makes sense in my head. So I add a little bit of oil in there. Take my finger, dab it around that seal, and right back on. And just make it snug, not cranking down on it. Next we are going to do our fuel filter. These are pretty easy. Kind of just gotta squeeze your hands in there, but it's pretty straightforward. Got an in and an out and a little connector there. So first step, this is the old one. You can see a connection there, a connection there. Connector is right there. This guy. And then once you get it out, we'll twist it. It's hard to film and do it at the same time, but we'll do our best. There's a good chance there's going to be some fuel coming out of here. Try to get a rag. Do our best not to spill. Sometimes it's inevitable, but we do our best. So those little rev tabs are just little pushes. You're going to push on the tab. There it goes. I'll try to prop this one up over here or something so there's no fuel draining out. We'll do the connector now. Pull that tab up. That one pulls right off. And we've got that last one in the back. This is the harder one to do. So now that I'm thinking about it, this one is really hard to get out. You could do it. You could have a flathead or something, maybe just sit here and push on it. But if I remember correctly, it's a lot easier to pull this out first and then disconnect that hose. And this whole piece will rotate clockwise. So you see this little finger here. Rotate it. Give it a little bit of wiggle and tug. There we go. And I like to have a bucket ready for this because this little filter should have fuel in it. Now once it's out, that red tab again. I know you can't see it, but take your finger, push it on that red tab, and you should be able to wiggle it right off. Gotta get in there. There we went. That is our fuel filter. We're just gonna go in and do the opposite. And you should hear these click or feel them click once you get it in there. So you can see, take my fingers around it, just kind of palm it. You hear it click, just like that. That's when I know it's in. So I get it down and there's a little bowl like this and it has a tab that sticks out. Actually it's this way. You stick it in there and just turn it. Now we're gonna turn it counterclockwise. There we go, we're in our bowl. Take that tab. All right, we're down and it's down seated in. I've got that clip in and the back one in. And this one's the easy one. Just hear it click. There we are. And if this finger is out this way, it's not locked in. So make sure it's up against here. Time for spark plugs. So on these particular motors, we have 6. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna pull all of these off the covers. A few times it'll pop right out. Just like that. Spark plug is pretty self-explanatory. Take the old ones out. Put the new ones in. They make a spark plug socket that's got a little rubber gasket in it. I don't have it. These work fine. That's the old one. Alright, so putting these back in, pretty self-explanatory, but something I like to do is I add a little tiny bit of corrosion block right on the thread. That's what I've just been told to do by other mechanics. You can see here we've got spark plug, 15 foot-pounds. Oh, it actually says right there, apply anti-seize. It even has the part number if you need the part number to order them. Our fancy smancy torque wrench right there. And when you go to put this back in, you'll feel it pop into place. You want to make sure this pops into place. You'll really feel it. It almost like clicks onto the spark plug. Right there, just like that. Alright, so good news. I was able to track down the part to do the belts today. I'll put a part number up for this. It's a very handy little tool if you're doing your belts. Without it, it's probably impossible. But I'm gonna walk you through changing these out. So first thing we've got to do 8 nuts and a clamp, and there's a lot of line and stuff up on this. So first we're gonna take this clamp off. We're gonna take these 2 nuts off, and there's 2 more down here. There's one right there and one under there. I believe these are 13 millimeter, excuse me. So be careful when you go to pull this cover off. that you get the washers out because they will go flying. Before we get too far into this, I need to take the dipstick out. There's a hose right here that does not have a clamp on it. You can just pull that right off, set that to the side. Again, make sure you get these washers. And here's something else that has to come out, and it'll just come out from you wiggling it. Right here. It's hard to see. There's a tube right here. This tube. It seats into a little another bigger tube right there. That is your dipstick. I don't know the verbiage. The track that your dipstick follows. So that is going to pull out when you pull this out. You start to pull this, you see it pops out right there. And be careful, there's an O-ring in there. Sometimes it'll be attached to the top piece, sometimes it'll be attached to the bottom. Just try not to lose it. You can see there, that's the piece from the dipstick. The O-ring is actually left inside of there. Try to zoom in. I'm just gonna get a little Phillips head and secure that, make sure I don't lose it. All right, so I kind of just pull this off and set it to the side or just let it hang. Not too much, don't want to put too much pressure on this hose. If you wanted to, you could remove this completely, but I normally can get by without having to do that. So now we're going to switch to a 10 millimeter. We're going to remove 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, you'll feel it when it comes loose. There it went. You'll feel the tension come off the belt. Up. Old belt out. Honestly, I kind of think it's overkill doing these every 300, but if you want to keep your warranty valid, it is required. Again, I'm not a mechanic. Take this new one. There might be a better way to do this, I don't know. Put it behind that. And we gotta tack this guy back down. Put those 4 you just took out right back in. You just got to get the belt underneath the wheel. This is a handy little piece of machinery right here. So we're going to set it right there, top of the flywheel. Just want to make sure your belt is on that back wheel. Line it up over here on the right side. The mechanic told me that it's way easier if you take the spark plugs out, but I already did the spark plugs. Now I know next time, but supposedly it's way easier. And there's another tool that helps you thread this thing on there, but you can just use your hand. Just use your hand to hold the belt in place as you crank it around. Eventually, I feel like I'm on the back wheel. There it goes. You see it's coming around, and it'll pop into place. Now I like to look under here because sometimes it'll get off this back one, and a couple more go around and it'll typically seat itself. There it went. I just heard it snap in. There we go. Make sure you pull that out. You do not want that in there. And the rest of this is just putting back together. Make sure you watch that O-ring down with your dipstick tube. You got to line all these bolts up. That's pretty much it. Here we are. Belts are done. All right, we've done, I think, everything except for the water pumps. Add the oil. I think it's 7. It's on the back of the motor. I think it's 7 quarts. Very straightforward. Pour the oil in. I always add a little bit less because even though you change it and drain the oil out, there will still be a little bit left in there. So I always add a little less, let it sit for 15-20 minutes, and then I'll check it on the stick. This is something else I like that they did. Oh, it says it right there. Oil volume, 7 US quarts. Oil type, 10W30. And your dipstick is different than anything I've ever seen, and it's actually very user-friendly. You're gonna see when I pull it out, it's got 5 beads. If it's on the last one, you need to add some, and if it's anywhere in between, it's okay. Very straightforward. All right, so we let this sit for a bit. What I'm gonna do now is check our oil, and we've got those beads. So when I'm gonna pull the dipstick out, I'm gonna turn it sideways and see where I have drips from hanging from the beads. If it's only on the first one, I'm gonna add some oil, and if it's anything above that, we're good. Pull it out. So I've got a big drip there on the second one. I lost it there when I put it back perpendicular. I'll show you that again. So I've got a drip from the first and the second, and a little bit of a drip from the third, so we've got enough oil in there. That is perfect. So this next part is the most labor-intensive part, the most complex part, and it's going to be the water pumps. And it's inside this area right here, so we've got to get the lower unit off. So I'll walk you through that first. There's going to be, I think there's 5 bolts we have to take off, or 5 nuts we have to take off. There's 2 here, 2 on the other side, and then there's 1 here under the zinc plate. So to get the lower off completely, you're going to need a 3/8 Allen key attachment, 19mm socket, and a 19mm. I like to use a gear wrench. It makes getting these nuts off a bit easier, but we use both sides on it, and I'll tell you why here in a bit. You'll see we've got another nut under there. All right, so these guys, you'll see my gear wrench won't fit under the bolt right away, so I have to use this side first, loosen them up, and then once I create some separation, I can use that gear wrench, and it gets a heck of a lot easier. You gotta pop them loose on all of them, all 4 on this side. I took the one under the zinc all the way out. And once you get those loose on both sides, just a little bit, it'll start to create a tiny bit of separation here on the lower unit. And I can get this gear wrench in there. And it goes a lot faster. Now, same thing going the other way. Once you get this bolt, or this, excuse me, I keep saying that wrong. Once you get the nut too far down, you can trap the wrench in there. So I get it to be about flush with the bolt, get the nut to be flush with the bottom of the bolt, and I can still get that wrench in and out. But it just speeds things up just a little bit. And once you get a little bit of separation on the nuts here, this is where a rubber mallet would come in handy, but I always forget to get one. Just kind of smack the top of the tab here. You can see it creates that separation, and that lower will start to slide out, and then I'll just slowly keep removing those bolts. You always want to have at least 1 attached, otherwise potentially that lower could come flying out and fall to the ground, and you do not want that to happen. These things are heavy. So they do have lower unit stands where you can pull these off, set it in a stand, and work on it. It's real easy. I don't have one, so I do have a kind of a station. When I'm ready to pull this off, I make sure I have my station set up because it is heavy. I'm going to sit on the bucket, and I'll put the skeg on the towel there, and I've got everything I need right here next to it. But like I said, when you pull this off, just make sure you're ready. I prop it up. I've got my last nut on there just as a safety. Pull that off. Come sliding out. Just like that. Alright, so bear with me on this part. I only do these every 300 hours, so I'm not an expert at them. I've done them so many times, but there's so much time in between them. Sometimes it takes some figuring out. But I've got an impeller replacement kit here. There's a part number. Mercury makes them as well. Quicksilver's obviously still Mercury stuff, but they were out of Mercury when I went and picked these up. So we're gonna get started. And there's a lot of parts in these. If you are worried about forgetting where something goes, videotape yourself doing this so you know where everything went. Pop this off first. Some seals in there we've got to change here in a few minutes. We've got 10mm. We've got 4 bolts to remove. This is our housing. Something I forgot to mention is before you take the old one off, remember which way it's spinning. So like if the tabs are bent this way, and that means this thing is supposed to be spinning clockwise. Because when you go to put the new impeller in and the cover on, you want to make sure you're bending it the right way. It should honestly correct itself if you put it in backwards, but you don't want to break any of these fins off. So just remember when you take the old one off which way it was spinning. We're going to hang on to that guy. A lot of these parts will be replaced, but make sure you hang on to this guy. Just kind of remember how it's laid out. I had my pickup, or my connection up here, up atop. Sometimes you can need just a little bit of help. There we go. Got some seals. So I've got one seal, metal plate, and another seal. Even that comes out. These little, there's another one there on the bottom. These little green seals right here, I'm pretty sure the kits come with them, if I remember correctly. Let's open it up. Color. Yeah. You can see we've got our little green seals, all of our gaskets, that metal plate, this big thick plate we reuse, and this big housing we reuse along with that piece. Everything else is replaced. So these little guys can actually be tricky to get out sometimes. Sometimes I've had them pop right out. Sometimes I have to dig them out. There you go. Easy peasy. Popped right out. Sometimes they'll get a little sticky in there. A scraper works great. Just careful not to cut yourself. I wouldn't use a knife. There you go. That works great. Start layering our gaskets back down. There we are. Up over the shaft. Take those guys, they pop right in. Just like that. Got another piece, goes on top. Just make sure you remember where everything goes. Metal plate. Went the wrong way. You'll know. If you're the wrong way, the holes won't line up. So you got that key. This is a tricky part too, because you have to line up. There's a little groove right there. That's how that sits. So now I'm looking at that key. I'm looking at that little notch. You should, if you find it, you'll feel it. Snaps right in. Alright, so I'm going to put this cover on now. Just want to make sure it's clear of any debris. And remember, I want those fins to be turning or facing back this way as if the impeller's spinning clockwise. And I've seen some people put the impeller in here first and then try to line it up. I don't really have much luck with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this cap and not the shaft. And normally I can get it to bend inside there like that. Just try to keep everything lined up. Once I get it down in there, use a bolt to try and... There we are. And just kind of wiggle it back and forth. You'll feel everything settle. Did you see how there was space there? And now everything kind of set into place. And I like to dab just a little bit of grease on these bolts before I put them back in. We've got just a couple more seals to swap out. So inside here you can see 2 sets of seals. Probably a better way to do this is try to be delicate, because you don't want to bend the plastic or put a scuff in the plastic or anything like that. Pop that old one out. If you put a nick or a scuff in the plastic, it won't seal properly. So just be careful if you use a screwdriver like me, like a dummy. So all of these guys, I like to put a little grease before I put the bolts back on. This helps it not seize up for next time. I forgot one piece. Just goes up over the top of the prop shaft or drive shaft. It has a little tool that'll help you slide it down because it is softer, rubbery. Don't leave that plastic piece on there. Just kind of mash that down, and it creates a little bit of a seal on the top of this housing. Just keeps that water pressure in there nice and good. Now this is the funnest part of the whole process. Sometimes there's a secret to it, I think. I think if you take the prop shaft and twist it, it'll help these gears up here, the grooves, it'll help them line up inside the power head. Sometimes it goes in first try, sometimes I'm here for 45 minutes. I'm exaggerating. Normally it's like no more than 5 minutes, but it does take a little bit of finesse to get it back sometimes. And if you've got someone that'll help you, that's even better. Another tip, and I forgot to do this, trim the motor up as high as it goes, so you're holding less dead weight. Today's gonna be one of those days it just doesn't want to go back and be together. There's actually grooves for this thing. It may be a better idea to put it in first. I'm not sure. Yeah, I like that better. I've actually never done that, but now that I just did it, I like that better. There she went. And you want to make sure you get it almost all the way sealed. If there's a big gap in there, there's something that's not lining up. So I'm just going to put one of those bolts on there just as a safety. And add the rest and tighten them down. And there we are. Water pump's done. Alrighty, we are done. That is 300-hour service. To be clear, this is only every 300 hours. This isn't every 100 hours. The 100-hour service is much easier. It's just lower unit oil, oil filters, and engine oil. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. What all did we do? We did gear case oil, we did the water pumps and impellers, we did the oil filters, the engine oil, the belts, spark plugs, and the low pressure fuel filters. So if you got any questions, leave them in the comments. I will try to do part numbers for any of the parts if you're interested in doing this yourself. I'd do it myself because it saves you a ton of money. That's just the truth. Honestly, nowadays mechanics are so expensive, and for good reason. What they do is very hard work, but if you do it yourself, you save a ton of money. If you're new to the channel, this isn't my typical style video. Maybe check out some of the other videos. Live in and on the water in the Florida Keys, diving and fishing and eating fish and seafood, and just kind of how we operate. But that's all I got. I will see you on the next one. Later.